Ladies and gentlemen, allow us to begin that day. Let us settle and begin our day. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of our third CoMMPASS International Conference, where we expect to have a lot of learning on top of what we learned yesterday. And our program, the first item for today is a prayer, and it is recorded as ecumenical here. And since we all have our religious beliefs or whatever other belief, we shall all pray or respect our God in different ways. So let me request everybody to stand. Let us stand. And we shall take each of us or each of you, just take off 30 minutes and pray in whatever you pray. We'll take off 30 seconds and pray. 30 seconds and pray. Not minutes, 30 seconds. So we shall just be silent as you communicate to God in your respective faith. So amen and amen. You can have a seat. You can take your seats. So today, maybe I'll begin with a reflection or reminder of what we had yesterday. As you recall, yesterday we had our opening ceremony here early in the morning, which was graced by the presence of the Vice Chancellor of Ugandan Christian University, and Mukono here. We also had the Deputy Vice Chancellor here. We had our PI of the CoMMPASS project here with us, and the other PIs of the respective countries. We also had representative of the German embassy here. We were welcomed very warmly here, and introductions were made. Each of us, or most of us, were introduced by the Master of Ceremonies of yesterday. So it was not self-introduction, but were rather introduced. And the day kicked off with a keynote address from Professor Ralph Akinfeleye, I think that's the name. Yesterday, that's where we began, and his emphasis was so much on relating what we teach in class with what happens out there and how we can improve our practice through e-learning. Then we had introduction of the CoMMPASS project, where Dr. Michelle presented the entire project and the current online course as it is right now. Then we had a panel on how to take online teaching and recognition further. So we had a panel here. We had Hannah Arineitwe, Antonio Kisembo, and Mpindi Abbas. They were here and elaborately talked about how we can improve our practice of e-learning. We then had another panel talking about online courses, continuing professional development for journalists, and talking about the results of the CoMMPASS experience. We had there Moses Kwindi Azam from Azam TV. He was online. He presented online. We had Dr. Sarah Namusoga, Dr. Andrew Kaponya, and Ngozi Comfort. Then we had another panel why online education in Africa must draw on African and cross-border research, trying to kind of like Africanize what we do. And we had Professor Now today, we hope to still have a keynote address, and this will be by Mr. Abbas Mpindi, who will be online, and I hope I hope he has come in. I hope. Then we shall have we shall have some panel discussions, but we hope to be through by at least 16:30 or 4:30 p.m. East African. So our first keynote is by Mr. Abbas Mpindi. I don't know that he's already online. It's going to be online. I don't know whether he's in already. I don't know how I can know. Oh, yes. You're welcome. Welcome, Mr. Abbas.
Thank you.
Mpindi, you're welcome to speak to us. Mr. Abbas Mpindi, his keynote presentation is on thoughts on the future of online journalism education in sub-Saharan Africa. Thoughts on the future of online journalism education in sub-Saharan Africa. And Mr. Mpindi is the CEO and co-founder of Media Challenge Initiative, and carries out has various years of experience in building platforms for young journalists and innovators to deploy solutions through journalism in reshaping Africans' narrative and cause social change. Mr. Abbas is a 2023 African Visionary Fellow, 2024 Elevate Prize winner, 2018 Tony Elmeru Entrepreneur and Young Emerging Leaders Program Fellow, and 2018 Obama Leader Award. I think won that award. And he has a decade of experience in program development and management, and has, over time, built lasting partnerships and strategically fundraised resources for organizational impact. So that is Mr. Mpindi, with a lot of experience in journalism, education, e-learning. So, Mr. Mpindi, you are very, very welcome to speak to us. It's over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me okay?
Yes, we do.
All right. So, good morning, everyone. I don't know if I should just go on and give a presentation. You will let me know if the internet is disrupting, so that at least I can, because when you're doing this, sometimes you don't know if people can hear you or.
Yeah, but everything is fine.
But I'm glad. Okay, perfect. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity once again to share my experience. I was at UCU yesterday, and I apologize. Today morning I couldn't make it back because I have an immediate meeting after this one. So, and the traffic from Mukono back to Kampala yesterday took me 4 hours. So I figured it would be best to do it online so that I can catch the other meeting. Other than that, I really wish I was there in person to deliver this keynote. I'm going to share my presentation, and you will let me know if you can see.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay, perfect. So I titled my presentation 2030, The Future Will Happen, and our choice is to position ourselves. And with that, I meant that the future is happening whether we like it or not. Change is happening whether we like it or not. Online education is happening whether we like it or not. Technology is making changes whether we like it or not. And our choice is really to position ourselves. And so I was assigned to share my thoughts on the future of online journalism education in sub-Saharan Africa. As I was thinking about that, I was saying, should I really talk about the future of online education, journalism education, or should I talk about the future of journalism education? Because I'm like very, very passionate about the journalism education as a whole field, rather than to say my concept and thought process around this is that I see online journalism education as a model of delivery, rather than as a separate from journalism education, as I shared yesterday. So that sort of provided me a challenge of how to approach. But either way, since it required me to just share thoughts, it is what I'm doing in this presentation. A challenge for now, I would like to start with just to give you a challenge. It's you are all good professors, you're scholars, you've authored books. You've also trained us as journalists, and many, many people have become journalists through your hands. But I want to give you a challenge first. And that challenge is, imagine it's December 2030. You can also think about December 2050 if you want, or December 20, like 2100, far from now. You've been tasked to write a story about the future of online journalism education. What would be your headline? For those who are a little bit on Zoom, please feel free to share in the chat and say, if I was around, I would have asked you to tell me direct, but I would ask the MC to pass the mic maybe after like 2 minutes to hear what the colleagues over there have to say. So just the headline, or what your wish for online journalism education should be 4 years from now in 2030. If the newspaper or TV station tasks you to write a story about the future of online journalism education, what would be your headline? Just a headline, not a full story. So, Mr. MC, if you can pass the mic, if there's anyone up to the challenge, I would love to hear them. I have colleagues that I know on the ground, so if no one is, I will call out their names since I know them, and I can revenge, because when I was in their class, they used to call me.
All right. So while I'm waiting for the journalism professionals to come in, I feel safer because as an outsider, I can actually comment without fear of getting anything wrong. Yeah. So my view is that if we have to talk about the future of online journalism, right? I would actually have 1 or 2 things to say. I see
a headline.
All right. The headline would be related to maybe the watering down of formal education. Yeah, I think it
Okay.
would be something like the formal education is being watered down. Yeah,
Can I
because
ask why?
yes, the reason is I expect that in future students would be recruited with little attention to entry criteria. When you have to recruit students into a program, you look at their like what qualification do you have before being
Okay.
admitted. But what I expect is that in future, because most of those that are practicing informally online and the like do not have any qualifications, but they are active on social media, and because of that,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's
Sure.
pass the mic maybe to one or two other people.
My 2030 headline will be Platforms Win, Legacy Media Retreats.
Thank you very much. Platforms to win.
Legacy Media Retreats.
Okay. Thank you. Any other person? Mr. MC, if there is no other person, I can continue. Can you see my presentation?
I think you can. There's one more.
All right.
There's
Okay.
one more.
Okay, for me, the headline could be Online Journalism Education in Sub-Saharan African Nations, the Way Forward.
Okay. Thank you very much. The reason why I started with this sort of assignment or visioning into the future is that as journalists, we deal with headlines every day. We write headlines that become stories, but they also become history in the future. And for us who are in the project management, we ask, we vision forward and we say, what would 10 years from now look like because of what we are doing now? What would 10 years look like because of the investment we're making in online journalism education, the intentionality, the spaces we are creating, the platforms we are creating, so that the end or the goal justifies whatever we have to invest in, or the means and the processes we have to put in place. So with that, my dear friends, at least we have an idea of what our vision of online education looks like. And I would invite all the other colleagues there to also think about 2030, 2050, what's their wish for online journalism education, or even for journalism education in general. So yesterday I talked about the challenge with online education, or the challenge that I believe faces online education. One is that not just Africa, but world over, we have a long physical learning hangover. And the frame has always been physical. Of course, it's serious, it's official, it's real. You have to be there in person. Online is framed as soft, easy, casual, and optional. It's all we've known, really. And as you all know, change becomes hard. To move someone from what they believe is like serious official to actually adopting something that they consider to be optional, plan B, soft, easy. And that's sort of like mindset framed for me what I consider to be one of the challenges, or one of the core challenges of why online education struggles. And so I also investigated further to think about the language that we use, which I also shared yesterday on a panel, which in one way or another delegitimizes online teaching or online education. And that language is in form of things like how we call online learning as alternative learning, remote students, distant learning, it is for working people who can't attend classes, the online option, not campus-based, equivalent to the physical program. You can study from home kind of language. There's no need to come to campus. And it's for non-traditional students. And then it's plan B, or it's a solution for people who cannot access. So all these presents sort of like the problematic framing that then puts online education into a challenge, especially among parents here on the continent who cover the biggest cost of education, and then even students who have to go through those education systems. And so what we know is that there's been what you would call traditional rituals of legitimacy. So with education, we know that you had to show up, you had to sit in a lecture hall, you are seen to be listening and paying attention, you wear a gown at the end, you receive a certificate, your parents come, they show up, there's a booklet where your name is, and all those like insinuate physical presence as seriousness, and therefore would be the rituals of legitimacy that you can find are sort of missing in what you consider current online learning, where even just sometimes a certificate, your certificate is emailed to you and you have to print it yourself. And then you have to present to your parents a certificate that has been emailed to you and you find it. And when you think about it now, it's not really a big issue. But for people, these are like rituals that have been there for a long time. And so therefore, they've created a tension and conflict. So when we talk about online education, when it came, it removed familiar rituals. And so people confused that loss, the loss of those rituals in some aspects, with the loss of quality. And that's where I want to pay attention. So once people think like, oh, because these traditional rituals that we know about education are not there, then they think, oh, that means the loss and the loss of quality as well, which is not the case. So what do we need to do? That tension calls for the new mindset shift that I talked about yesterday. And so the future of online education for me must be anchored in a new belief, and that is, education is not a place that, oh, we must go there. We must now push for a belief that education is an outcome, which has always been there, but it's not sold in either marketing or anything. It's just like, oh, you have to go to school. Okay, is it a place? Yes, it's a place. Fine. Now, there's no place anymore. So you could be anywhere, and that's an advantage. But what's the outcome? Can we sell the outcome? We have to change from this whole location-based legitimacy to evidence-based legitimacy. The place versus what you actually can show to the world. And so, colleagues, it's really important for us to also invite ourselves to think about the goal of education. And in most cases, we bother about, like, you see reports that are just about like how many students attendance and class. But rarely do we see reports that really investigate students demonstrating competence. So I want to shift from, did the student attend the class, to, can the student demonstrate competence at the end of the day? So it doesn't matter whether it's online or it's physical. If the student can't demonstrate competence, And that's why I said, let's start with the goal of education before we even think about the future of online journalism education. And so the discussion for me should not be the future of online education, journalism education should be what kind of journalist are we preparing for the future and how. So this kind of question helps us then to think about the future, but also to think about how we get to that future. And then why this reflection is important for you and I and everyone is that because the world around journalism is changing every single minute, everyone talks about things like media sustainability, misinformation and disinformation, the competition for audiences, all those changes are very clear now that the goal of journalism education, whether online or not, must align to fit the context of that changing world. So we are not training students anymore to finish school, to have a transcript. We are training students to be useful in the real world. It has always been like that, but it's now being given a bigger demand because of the current changes, especially around our journalism landscape. And so here are my random proposals or random thoughts as requested to share. For me, the 2030-2050 is that I wish that a student who goes through a university gets more than a
Recording in
transcript.
progress.
I therefore propose what I would call a new education contract, which is there has to be graduation with evidence that comes with online journalism education. And online journalism education has the capacity to provide that evidence through verified stories and explainers that are platformed somewhere. When students do those things and someone can access them, then that's part of like their portfolio. Documentation or verification workflows, you're able to find, besides the attendance sheets and who attended which class, which I don't think happen even anymore. Online provides that trail to trace someone because of their workflows. Audience ready products that we're producing, editorial feedback based on the work the students have done, projects, and I will give some examples later. My other wish list is really blended mainstreaming. Yesterday, I think a lot of people were talking about how can we talk about online education when people don't have access to practical tools. And my colleague Antonio shared, even more, immersive tools like VR and AR that would allow you to create some of those tools. But before we even get there, to think about what are we working with as a community, as a country. And so one, I think Gerard shared that before we even get into thinking online education might be the new silver bullet, let's think about the reality. And that reality for me is anchored in, blended mainstreaming, where hybrid becomes normal. And my hope for 2030 is that journalism schools become hybrid by default. And that means online handles the knowledge, the information, the delivery and flexibility. And then campus or universities, for us, campus newsroom, like campus becomes the newsroom or labs or studios or critique spaces, debating spaces, community reporting. Now, you all know how spaces to convene people are shrinking, and universities being spaces of bringing young people together should now provide the space more than just knowledge transferring and sharing in class and writing notes. Notes shouldn't be, they could be somewhere online that could be accessed, and then the real work around like practicals would happen in these campuses, and that allows students to access information online anywhere and be able to come and experience practical training within the campus. assessment, portfolio-based rather than you can still do exams, but portfolio to be able that when a young person gets out of the university, they have something to show rather than just a research. Some universities are good at this to be able to share like bylines or video stories or story or film project done by students. But each student should leave with that portfolio rather than even in groups. That's what I say. Students must graduate with a show reel and a capstone. And then how you can make it happen for us or for the future student is our faculty members have to be trained in digital pedagogy. I think yesterday a colleague, I don't remember from which country, was talking about instructional design as a core element of training anyone who has to take on this digital skilling. There has to be curriculum redesign for now for social fast journalism. Like it or not, social media is the place now where everyone is at least going to consume stories. Even the traditional mainstream media will continue to use these platforms to, and now every media house is asking if a young person has those skills, and therefore that calls for curriculum putting into consideration social fast sort of journalism and then of course putting in place newsroom partnerships that become standard. How that can be achieved in a dream future model. I said dreams because I'm an innovator, that's all I know. You dream, you make things happen. I would then recommend a cocktail model that fuses online learning, physical practice, and community engagement. And I will show you an example of what we are doing at Media Challenge Initiative later. So online classroom for me equals knowledge, debate, and forums. Newsroom application for me is where the campus comes in, reporting labs, practice, and production. And then community distribution, let them go out there and engage and see the relevance of their stories and build actual trust. And that's what we're doing with Switch Africa and Solutions Now Africa. My colleague Antonio is there. Please ask him about Switch Africa and Solutions Now Africa. I can give you links. So with CoMMPASS, I was imagining, could we ever think about if you have 23 or plus universities that have participated in this, how does a contest look like in terms of a digital fast newsroom? My imagination is these universities could build journalism schools that operate like a real digital newsroom. I'm imagining cross-border reporting cohorts, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. I'm imagining reporting labs producing published work. I'm imagining newsroom apps tracking assignments and outputs of these students from wherever they are. And I'm imagining that universities have the potential to become content studios and public value engines if we give them the opportunity to blend online, physical learning, and then community engagement as a digital fast newsroom. Before that, we were struggling a lot with publishing, but now each and every university, I think, should have really the capacity to afford a mini digital newsroom for their young people, social newsroom for their young people to produce. And that flexibility can come with being able to retain some of the younger students you have. I think I see UCU has also done a great job, and those young people can begin to adopt some of these tools into play. But it starts with an intention. So maybe a little bit about what we are doing at Media Challenge Initiative. We've run a fellowship program for the last 8 years, and we asked ourselves, what else can we, how else can we transition from going into workshops and sitting these students down and bringing them experts, and the experts talk to them. And we said, what if they had an actual newsroom where they come, sit, have access to equipment, and produce actual stories and see those stories being published and pitch those stories for awards. So we started with the first newsroom, Solutions Now Africa, which has been excellent, producing students long form reads as well as long form documentaries. And then last year we created a social first newsroom called Switch Africa, which focuses on producing shorter stories, but focusing on younger audiences. So if Uganda's population is young, then that should be reflected in the stories that they see on social media. And the way our newsroom works, this is just a sample of, like, you can join in the fellowship program as a fellow. You go through our trainings, you meet experts, you get mentorship, and then you transit into content production for the next 6 months, and then we support you with to transit out of the program. Programs like these can be benchmarked, can be started to also offer sort of like learning for how can we create these university partnerships with organizations like mine and other innovations to ensure that learning, online learning, goes beyond the university, but also is within other spaces that can, like a newsroom that is not for profit newsroom like MCI. It's not a university, but works in hand with a university to prepare students for the market. So their collaborations can happen in there. All I have to say as I conclude is that the future is here, and it won't change. It's us who have to think about that future, and then make things happen towards creating an actual vision and actual future of what we want. Online education, journalism education, for me is part of the bigger education system, and it should be seen as that now to help us deliver a better product, but in turn produce the best journalists to come out of our universities. Thank you so much, and God bless you all. Mr. MC, I hope I used my time well. I had 45 minutes, so I left some few minutes for questions. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can see people clapping.
Thank you. But you can. But do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we're going to have some questions, but by way of trying to summarize what Mr. Mpindi has said, and at the risk of distorting, but you forgive me, he began by challenging us that we imagine that we're in 2030 and that the future will happen, and that our role is to position ourselves, because we cannot prevent the future from happening, but just find us ready to fit. So we have to position ourselves, and I'm so happy that at least the CoMMPASS project at least has this online course running. For somehow we are ready to face that. And then it gave us a question where he told us to have some kind of, what headline would we have if we are challenged to write a story about the future of online journalism education? What kind of heading or title would that or headline would that story have? And you indeed suggested a lot of headlines, and he told us that, of course, in many times the end justifies the means. That once we come out of the situation, then we shall know whether whatever we did to reach there was good or was not good. But then we are having a struggle of physical learning. We have a hangover. Many of us were trained physically, and we're having trouble accepting that the time has come for us to move and learn using a different method. And so there is that comparison between physical learning and online learning. And online learning is taken to be alternative, remote, and all those other words that are used to mean that one. Then mainstream, physical is taken to be the mainstream. So if you are studying online, he says, then it's taken us to be as an alternative learning method. And so there's a struggle for us to overcome the traditional rituals where we have to appear in a class, you sit, you study, you graduate, you come with your parents on the graduation, he said that one, they give you a physical certificate. And so here, he says when it comes to online, you have to print out a certificate where even some people will ask you, how do you get the certificate? They sent it online. By email. Hey, are you sure that certificate which they sent you on email is a real certificate? Maybe take off some time and go there physically and pick a physical. So that kind of behavior or belief that we have. But then he talks about some new beliefs where he says education is an outcome, and that he talks about evidence-based legitimacy, that as long as there is evidence that we can do what we're supposed to do, whether we studied physically or online, maybe we can justify what we did. So there should be some evidence, and that learners should demonstrate competence at graduation. And when they go out to work, they should demonstrate competence. So whether they're doing physical or online, competence should be there. And so, what type of journalists, therefore, are you preparing for the future? And talked about aligning to fit the context in the changing world. That as we train our journalists, they should at least fit in.
You're a very good reporter.
Changing world. Everything. Bye. I'm trying to report. I hope, and since you're a senior journalist, I'm happy that you have seen that I'm a good reporter. And when I take that mentorship program that you have there, I'm sure I'll go to my professor Taiwa to give me a degree in
PhD
journalism. Yeah, and so he's saying that a learner should graduate with the evidence, and that's what he called the new education contract, and talked about portfolio reporting. That if learners would keep recording and archiving whatever they are doing as they study, and at the end of the day, produce that kind of portfolio or file or archive to the audience out there, or to their potential employers. This is what I've been doing. I can do reporting, I can do an interview, I can write a story, I can do all that. Probably we can now judge that they are good at that. So when they're doing online learning, maybe then they should be archiving whatever achievements they make in kind of like what we're calling a portfolio. And of course, talked of hybrid journalism schools, and talked about blending, where he said that maybe if we can have online studying to support the discussions and the forums, and then our universities have that space, so kind of like a newsroom where practical work can take place, and we blend the learning. Then the assessment is portfolio based, because whatever you learn, you record. Whatever you learn, you archive. So at the end of that day, we look at your portfolio and see whether you're competent enough to be a journalist. That's what he told us. And of course, he was telling us, he gave us how those things will happen. We should train our faculty in digital pedagogy. We should do instructional design, curriculum design for social fast journalism, and then newsroom partnerships, where we work together with the newsroom. And so he has a dream for the future model, where he talks about online and a newsroom and and community distribution, where our learners now they can start online, they have this newsroom practice, and they can go in the community and show what they can do. And so our universities should build schools that operate like real digital newsrooms, and he went ahead to demonstrate or to show us that at the Media Challenge Initiative, they have a fellowship program where young people come and there's some kind of newsroom. The model he talked about, actually, they do some work online, then they have a newsroom kind of mentorship program, and then they can go out and do some internships and also are placed. I think briefly, Mr. Mpindi, I have tried to wrap up what you've spoken, and now I welcome our colleague. Sorry, I'm doing I should have done this before. I'm called Richard Kajumbula from Makerere University. I forgot to introduce myself, sorry. Yeah, so that we can address each other by name. Okay, so colleagues, Mr. Mpindi, in a brief, that's what he presented. So we now request for your comments, your additions, your experiences, your questions, and anything that you like to say about Mr. Mpindi's work. So Mr. Mpindi, the first issue, you're going to have 3 of them first, then you will respond. Is it okay?
Okay.
Let's have the first one.
Yes, sounds good.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your presentation. I would like to speak about professional training, online training. I know that in many countries in Africa, there are community radio stations in some areas where it's not possible to have access to internet connection. At the same time, community radio station journalists would like to be trained. What can be done specifically for them? Thank you so much.
So you've got that?
Yes,
Next, any other question, any other comment? Yes. There's another one coming. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, thanks very much. Dr. Kajumbura, you summarized very well Mr. Mpindi's presentation, keynote. Thanks very much, Mr. Mpindi, for that wonderful keynote. I'm William Tayebwa, and I appreciate the fact that you are really speaking to a new paradigm that I realize you've been trying actually to test out at the Media Challenge Initiative, because I am aware that since the start of the Media Challenge Initiative, you've been actually leading initiatives with academic institutions. So the model you are using right now, maybe if you could speak to it more to the wonderful educators in the room, so that they can clearly appreciate that model. But now my question to you as you speak to that model is, you take, journalism students from academic institutions, okay? So I'm here speaking to the issue of institutionalization, but also what kind of new model you would envisage, which would, because the training that you do value addition, but in terms of accreditation, all the amazing work that you do, unless you become an institute and be accredited by the National Council for Higher Education, for example, what you are doing is value education, which is very important and we deeply appreciate it. But I would want that to move to another level, where, for example, the Media Challenge Initiative maybe alongside Uganda Christian University, Makerere University, actually give a degree that is a joint degree, so that when this student goes out there, it's a joint degree that is Media Challenge Initiative with Makerere University, Media Challenge Initiative with UCU University. So what did you say? I see you are clapping, which is wonderful, but I'm now putting this ball back into your hands. What do you see as is that something that you see is viable? And if you see that it's viable, since you are clapping, what would it take for us to make it happen? Thank you very much, Abbas.
Thank you so much, Prof. Any other?
Okay.
We'll take on 3 of them. Yes, here.
Okay, thanks so much for your very nice presentation. The insight related to the paradigm shift in learning process. That has something to see with also ongoing neoliberal economy in terms of reduction of cost of production of information. And related to that process, I have a short question. Is the future of journalism as a profession at risk? Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We can have him respond to those, then we can have some other 3 and then close. Yes.
So thank you so much for the questions. The first one I think was professional trainings for community radios, and if I got it correct, and I say the first thing I would tell you is introduce all these people to CoMMPASS as an example, but also too as universities. Here's why I think we are not using the ecosystem that you have. So you have an opportunity to create with online education, you have an opportunity to create training of trainers and other specialized skill sets that people in the already working are looking for. So one good way is, what if you partnered with if you have an ICT course or computer science course, what if you partnered with a faculty at the university and you created an online platform? It could be an innovation challenge that the ICT students create for the journalism students, right? And then you can then use that as an open source to put courses there that community radios and other journalists who are not able to come to do full-time study can access those skill-related courses. I think also this conversation is very timely for you as lecturers and scholars, because this is also a very good time for you to rebrand yourself. You have huge amounts of knowledge that I think is either in books somewhere, you've written papers, you've documented, a lot of knowledge is still in your head, you're still alive. So one way to rebrand yourself is to become also, to have your own sort of like digital scholar where people can find resources or even short courses on such platforms. I think this is how, even when you're retiring out of school, this could provide still continuous income. So it's not just, think about it as a business to create these online courses for the future students and even people who are working. So that for me would be my challenge to you, the first gentleman who asked me the question. Then to Professor Taebwa. Yes, this takes just a meeting, sir. we've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, and I think it's my colleague Antonio is there, who heads the research, learning, and development. This falls straight into his hands as an opportunity for us to create like joint programs. I agree with you. We do value education and value addition. We don't replace the universities or institutions of learning. We come to add any value that we have, and our model of intervention can be replicated across other courses if someone has the time. And so, to speak a little bit about our work, Media Challenge Initiative is a not-for-profit organization that is building the next generation of journalists, storytellers, and leaders. At the core of it is a fellowship program that incubates and works with 26 young journalists every year, are selected through a competition, through a big newsroom competition where all universities come to compete. And then from that competition, we select the best 26 students who join the fellowship program, and then they spend 1 year now doing assignments, attending sessions, and then after that, we graduate them with a good certificate that is not a transcript, that allows them to strengthen the certificate they get from the university with the skill sets they have. Now, the model that I was sharing has that practical approach to it, because when we started, the biggest challenge we were having was really the practice. So that's the work that we do. And in terms of like how we can work together, yes, we've offered, our office, and I welcome anyone who would love to visit us when you're in Kampala. Antonio, my colleague Antonio is there, can bring you to the MCI Media Hub. We've offered the space to see what collaborations we can create courses or practical aspects with universities and institutions that might need that service. But also, again, from a business perspective, Dr. Taiwet would also help us to sustain the organization if we are able to create such partnerships. I think the last question was, is journalism profession at risk? How can I answer that without sounding academic? I think we all know the risks associated with our profession currently. From the core of the foundation of journalism being challenged, to all these platforms taking over what would be the revenue base, to people and everyone else. Yesterday I think the professor called them information traffickers. Everyone taking on their role of becoming sort of a pseudo journalist. So all those put us at risk, and when some of those things make journalism really, really, really a very dangerous space to work in. But also in our space, we've continued to say journalism has no, if you want money, you shouldn't join journalism, which has been very conflicting to defend for us as the trainers of journalists, because I know it's the reality, but at the same time, I think part of the work that universities should be doing is to do research and investigation on why should we separate journalism from wealth and journalism from money? Why can't we come up with ideas of solving that problem so that we don't scare away people who are saying, oh, I want to be a journalist? I can tell you that when we started, we would find very many students in journalism classes in different institutions. These days, we go and find like 5 students in some institutions, 10 students. And when you talk to students, one of the things they will tell you is what the professor said. I mean, there's no money in journalism. And we've also lost a little bit of when young people had the aspiration to be on the silver screen, on radio, or TV, that celebrity sort of fame was associated with journalism and media, and everyone who wanted to be there would. Now that has been taken over by TikTok and all these social platforms, because young people feel like overnight I can become sort of like a celebrity. And that maybe is not our person that we're looking for, because we are looking for someone who understands the ethos of journalism, but we should be able to attract or create means. And I think universities as hubs of research should investigate why we continue to poverty brand our profession, because as we continue to brand it as, poor, no money, the more we, make it to risk, like we push it to risk or extinction. Yes, those are my thoughts on that.
So thank you so much for that response. Yeah, everyone has clapped. I hope you,
Thank you.
you have seen that. Yeah, the colleagues are very happy with your presentation. So can we have maybe some other 3, then we can close this, or 2? Okay. So there's only 1.
Okay.
Okay. You don't seem to have any other comments coming your way. Mr. Bass, thank you so much for the presentation. We are very glad, and we have really learned a lot from your presentation. I thank you so much for also keeping the time and for teaching us and sharing. Maybe a final round of applause for Mr. Bass. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So much. Yeah. So
thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations again on this project. And Dr. Tayewa, we will be at your office soon. Antonio, please do the needful.
Thank you. Thank you. So, colleagues, once again, I would like to recognize the presence of colleagues who have joined and other officials who have joined. We have Mr. Mukwata Mpola Mzamil. Mr. Mukwata Mpola Mzamil is the Commissioner, Admissions, Scholarships and Students Affairs in the Ministry of Education and Sports in Uganda, Government of Uganda. Yes. Then we have Mr. Saul Waigolo. Yes, he's here. He's from the National Council for Higher Education. So you're very welcome, sir. And I know that we are moving towards having this course accredited. So we're very happy that the Ministry of Education is here, the National Council is here. Yes, because part of the discussion is micro-credentials, I think. Yes, and so we are glad when we come there for accreditation, for us shall reach the gate and we say we are going to Mr. Waigolo's office. Shall not tell them what we have come to. I shall say, you remember the other day when you came, the online course you saw, we want it accredited so that when someone does that certificate, maybe they can be admitted for a diploma and probably a degree. So, and that's where we are heading to support continuous development. And we have Associate Professor Konkonda Elizabeth. Yes, she's the director of the Directorate of Postgraduate Studies here in Uganda Christian University, Mukono. So we're glad to see you. Plus, I'm recognizing the rest of the members who were not introduced yesterday. Please, we're happy to see you. We are very glad to meet you. So we are going to have a small shift. Yesterday, we were told we were going to move to another venue. I think it's called the ICMI. I don't know, our ushers, I hope you know where that is. Yes, it should be around. Okay, so it's going to guide us to the new place where we're going to have the rest of the discussions. So we walk up, you're going. So we're going to use that exit down the stairs, and then we shall move with him. The rest of the activities are going to be that side. So let us move to that new location. Thank you.